This is VOA News. I'm Marissa Melton. President Donald Trump says it is the whistleblower and a top House Democrat who are to blame for the impeachment inquiry, the AP's Ed Donahue reports.
The president says the person that started this got it all wrong.
I made a call. The call was perfect. When the whistleblower reported it, he made it sound terrible.
And he wants to know more about this person.
Well, we're trying to find out about a whistleblower.
President Trump also thinks the chair of the House Intelligence Committee is out of line.
Adam Schiff, representative, congressman, made up what I said. He actually took words and made it up.
The president says there was a lot of corruption in the 2016 election, in his words,
against us.
And he wants to get to the bottom of it. Ed Donahue, Washington.
North Korea's ambassador to the United Nations said Monday that tensions remain high with the United States and little has been achieved diplomatically a year after the historic summit between the two adversaries. It was the final day of the UN General Assembly debate. Kim blamed American political and military provocations, his words, for the stalled talks and urged Washington to find a new approach. Talks between the United States and North Korea broke down after a second summit in February between Kim and Trump ended without a deal. Kim demanded a relaxation of sanctions in exchange for partial steps to dismantle his nuclear program. Trump wanted a more far-reaching deal. North Korea has conducted 10 rounds of short-range missile tests since early May. Washington has imposed sanctions on several entities and people associated with the Russian organization linked to interference in U.S. elections. The U.S. Treasury Department announced Monday it's targeting the so-called Internet Research Agency and its top financer. The announcement called out the organization for efforts to interfere in the U.S. midterm elections of 2018, although it said the integrity of the elections was not compromised. VOA News. Afghanistan's national security advisor called on the Taliban to engage in peace talks or face defeat at the hands of the government.
To the Taliban and their foreign sponsors, hear this now. A message from the Afghan people. Join us in peace or we will continue to fight. As my colleague, Ambassador Adil Araz, said last week here at the United Nations, this is a fight we can win.
Hamdullah Mohib made those comments at the United Nations General Assembly. It was just days after the heavily secured Afghan presidential elections, in which at least 2.2 million people voted. Official results are not yet in. The militant group threatened attacks leading up to Election Day, and that caused many voters to stay home. The International Red Cross said Monday it helped facilitate the release of 290 detainees who'd been held by Houthi rebels in Yemen. An ICRC statement said 42 of the detainees were survivors of an attack on a detention site in Damar in early September. That attack was blamed on the Saudi-led coalition that is fighting the Houthis. Here's one of the released prisoners. He's thanking God for being released. He called on the Houthis and Saudi-led coalition to resolve issues surrounding prisoners on a humanitarian basis. The United Nations welcomed the release. Hong Kong pro-democracy lawmakers are condemning what they call extremely disturbing and brutal police arrests of protesters at demonstrations last week. Violent clashes broke out on Saturday and Sunday, as they have since protests began in June. Riot police repeatedly fired water cannons and tear gas after demonstrators hurled Molotov cocktails at officers and set off street fires. Pro-Democracy Party lawmaker Claudia Mo says the police force and the government of Chief Executive Carrie Lam are trying to spread fear in Hong Kong.
They thought by infiltrating this chilling effect, they could have probably a more safe and a more protected kind of celebration of the 70th anniversary.
Many protesters are planning to go out on the street again Tuesday as the ruling Chinese Communist Party celebrates 70 years since taking power. Al-Shabaab militants launched an attack on an airbase used by the U.S. military supporting Somali forces. That's according to security sources on Monday. The militants detonated explosions from 2 car bombs at an airport in Lower Shabelle region. Al-Shabaab issued a statement claiming responsibility for storming the base. The AP reports the U.S. uses the base to launch drone attacks on Al-Shabaab targets. I'm Marissa Melton. This is VOA News.